Whiskey Butler, take 135. Howdy! Welcome to the Whiskey Butler. I am your host, Wesley Butler, here to serve you a little whiskey wisdom. Today we're going to talk, we'll call today a muscle up episode. I am here to solve that riddle that vexes lots of whiskey drinkers out there. What's that riddle, you might ask? Wesley, what's the difference between cask strength and barrel proof? I am here to give you the 411 on what that difference is. All right. I want everybody to get your pens and papers out, or your tablets, or your phones. You can type it in here. I'm about to tell you the difference between cask strength and barrel proof. Are you ready? Are you ready? Here it is. There's absolutely no difference at all. What? Absolutely no difference at all, Wesley? You must be crazy. I see this all the time on bottles of bourbon and whiskey in the stores. Usually when you see that on a bottle of whiskey, carries like an extra 25% on the price too, you know? So how can there be no difference? How can you tell me there's no difference? Well, I'm telling you there's no difference. So now, I know why there's a difference in the price, which we could get to that a little bit later, but there's no difference in the meaning between cask strength and bottle proof. So why do people keep asking that question? Well, that's a good question you ask. And what I would counter with is people are actually asking the wrong question. What you should be asking is, what's the difference between full proof and barrel proof? Okay? Now there's a difference. Now, going back to the cask strength versus barrel proof, the only real difference I can say there is that cask strength is generally used to refer to non-American whiskeys, so Irish and Scotch and such like that. And American whiskeys tend to use barrel proof, but there's a lot of crossover there. But they literally mean the same thing. Now, back to the full proof versus barrel proof. Now, there is actually a difference in those two. So, how do we usually resolve our differences? Well, we go to the law, right? So we're going to go to the law here. Now, while there is no legal definition of what full proof means, it generally means that the whiskey was bottled at the same proof that it went into the barrel. Okay? So bottled at the same proof it went into the barrel. But Wesley, if it goes into the barrel at one strength, then it loses some to the angel share. So how can it actually be the same proof when it goes into the bottle? That's a very good question. I'm going to ask you to put a pin in that, and we will come back to that a little bit later. Now, while I said there's no legal definition of full proof, if you have reviewed the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms ruling 79.9, which I'm sure all of you out there are intimately familiar with that. But if you're not, there is a definition in there for original proof, original entry proof, and original barrel proof and entry proof. And the definition of those three terms in that ruling is exactly what I just told you, that it's bottled at the same proof that it went into the barrel, right? So now let's get to the definition of barrel proof. Now there is a legal definition of barrel proof, and I take you right back to that ATF ruling 79.9 where it says barrel proof means that the liquid is bottled at the proof of no less than 2 degrees of the proof that it came out of the barrel. I totally just butchered that, but basically it's bottled at the same proof that it comes out of the barrel by about 2 degrees. But actually, let me just read you actually the real definition here, because it says that the bottling proof is no more than 2 degrees lower than the proof at the time the spirits were gauged for taxation, right? So, because that's how they tax on the whiskey is, they weigh it and so on and so forth. So, it's weighed for taxation, and then you're allowed some wiggle room of 2 degrees before it goes into the bottle if you're going to call it barrel proof. So, the reason barrel proof actually costs more than non-barrel proof is that you're actually getting more whiskey in those bottles than you are whiskeys mixed with water, right? Because you're getting something at 80 proof, it's been watered down, so there's actually more water than whiskey in there than something that's 100 proof or something that's 135 proof. So they charge you more because you're actually getting more whiskey than you are water, okay? So that's the difference between full proof and barrel proof, okay? So let's go back to that question of, but it's put into the barrel at 1 proof, and then how can it be bottled? Okay, where are my science nerds out there? Can I get some science nerds out there? Yes, I know I got some. All right, so let's talk about the temperature and how that affects the angel share of your whiskey, right? So here in the U.S., our temperatures are typically warmer than you might get across the pond in a Scotland or in Ireland, right? So in these warmer temperatures, the water evaporates faster than the alcohol. So in the barrel, when you're losing it to the angel share, right, you're actually losing more water than you are alcohol. So that's what causes, so for American whiskey, that's what causes the proof to actually rise in the barrel. Once it's been barreled, the proof actually rises the longer it ages. I mean, I'm sure there's a plateau piece in there or whatever, but the proof actually rises as it ages, versus a Scotch or an Irish whiskey where in those cooler temperatures over there, the alcohol actually evaporates quicker than the water, so the proof actually goes down as it sits in the barrel, right? But now, over there, for Irish and Scotch whiskeys, that's why over there, literally those whiskeys are barreled at a super high entry proof, right? Here in the US, there's a maximum of, right, that's right, 125. You cannot barrel it higher than 125 proof here for American whiskey, but over there, you can barrel it at 140, 150, 160, right? Because you know you're going to lose some to the angel share, and over there, Scotch and Irish whiskey, the proof is going to go down. Over here, the proof is going to go up. So, you will never find a full proof American whiskey that's higher than 125, because you can't put it into the barrel higher than 125 here in the US. Now you could get a barrel proof here in the US all the way up to 140 and sometimes even over 140, because the proof rises, and if you're going to get one over 140, chances are they probably barrel that at 125 to get it all the way up that high. But anyway, I digress. So there's your mystery solved between full proof and barrel proof, and how the proof rises and falls depending on what kind of whiskey and the temperature, so on and so forth. But enough 411, let's get to tasting some barrel proof whiskey. So what I have here is Elijah Craig barrel proof. I got 2 different versions, right? So Elijah Craig's normal Heaven Hill brand. Elijah Craig is a 12-year-old bourbon, and about 8 years ago, back in 2013, they started this barrel proof series, right? It's a limited release. They do 3 releases a year, and which is noted on the bottle, A, B, or C, and then there's a code afterwards to tell you the month and the year that it was released. And so here we have the A119, and here we have the C920, and each of the releases is going to be different, right? Because they're barrel proof. It depends on what the barrel comes out as. This is the A119 is 135.2, okay, and the C920 is 132.8. So these are definitely heavyweights, okay? These are definitely heavyweights on their way to 140. Now, what they say about barrel proof is, why would you want to drink something that's strong? Well, you're tasting how it tastes as it comes out of the barrel. So you're getting those flavors like explode in your mouth, right? I mean, you don't ease into them. I mean, they just jump out and grab you as soon as you drink them. Now, some people like a little water in them. Some people like a little ice cube. Some people like to drink it straight, I mean, I myself prefer my whiskey neat. If you're thinking about if you ever had a hard week at work where you just wanted to strangle people, or you had a hard week at home, you just wanted to strangle some people at home, this is a Friday night whiskey right here. You pour this on a Friday. I mean, it'll get you straight real quick, right? It'll get you straight real quick. But yeah, so let's try one of these barrel proofs. Let's see how those flavors jump out at you. Now the C920, I've actually had this. The A119, I just got this, just found this a few days ago. So we're gonna go ahead and taste this. This is my virgin tasting of this. I never had this. So 135.2 proof. Woo! Let's see what it tastes like. See why I call this a muscle up series. This is not for the faint of heart. It's not for the faint of heart right here. Let's see, what's the mash bill on this Elijah Craig? 78% corn, 12% malted barley, 10% rye. Now, what I will say, and I noticed it on this, and I noticed it on this too, is that the nose is actually very mild. So it suckers you in. You know it's 135 proof, and you're like, oh, but you know, this doesn't smell like gasoline. Oh, this might not be too bad. It might not be too bad. But let's see how it tastes. Woo! Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Those flavors just, wow, jump right at you. Oh, I got some vanilla. Oh, that's what you got in there. Oh, I got some cinnamon. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Oh, some toasted oats. No, I'm not. I'm just kidding. No toasted oats. Yeah, there's definitely some spice in there. Now, some people say when you have a whiskey this strong that, yes, it's full flavored, but maybe you're not getting the right combination of flavors, right? Maybe it needs a little water to really sort of open it up. So let's see what happens when we add a little water. Not gonna add an ice cube. Just gonna add some drops of water in there. Try and open it up a little bit. Yep. Okay, all right, we got some water there. Swirl it around a little bit, see if it tastes a little different, Actually smells a little bit different once you put some water in it. Okay, so it's interesting. The flavors are really still the same, but the water takes out a little bit of the bite. But you still get the flavors. So I'm no longer at 135 proof, right? Because I've added some water to it, you know, in this little bitty glass that I have right here. But, you know, I mean, it might be worth adding some water to your barrel proof. I mean, if you're at this proof, right? I mean, if you had a barrel proof at 120 or 115, maybe you don't need to add it because they've already added the water on the front end, right? Because they probably watered it down. The barrel entry proof probably wasn't that high if you're getting a barrel proof at 120 or 115, right? So it probably went into the barrel, well, we know it went into the barrel lower than that, and then it rose up to that. So it's already had the water on the front end. If it's something that low on this end, it's probably barreled close to 125, if not at 125, to get up to this 135. Whew, yeah, that tastes good. So I recommend that everyone out there have some cask strength or barrel proof whiskeys in your cabinet. You never know when you're going to have that tough week at work. You got to pop open 120, 130 proof. That's just what you need to get you through. So that's all for the show today. Hope you learned something. Please like, subscribe, click the bell when you subscribe so you're always alerted of new episodes, and share with your friends. I appreciate you watching. Catch you next time on The Whiskey Butler. Thank you.